All right, we're here today with author Dr. Mike Cockrell. Mike, first of all, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Now, tell us what got you into writing.
Goodness, that goes way back. I have had an interest in writing for as long as I can remember. I mean, a lot of my initial writing experience and exposure came back in high school as one of the editors, co-editors, and a journalist for the school newspaper. So that's probably where I first sort of got that spark. And then over the years with career and college and everything else, I always enjoyed my English classes, especially the literature classes that required more writing. But always had an inkling, even as I became a physician and moved forward in my career, to write a book. The problem at that time was I really had no good idea about what to write about. So as a scientist and a physician, I tend to write things that are more relevant to science and personal development and self-help and that kind of thing now, because what I have found, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, I've really shifted my focus to wanting to do more personal development. I see the problems that people are dealing with in the medical practice. I see the issues that they're having with their health and not having enough money to make ends meet, and the stress that all that causes. I see the disruption and the dissatisfaction in the jobs they're doing. So, I really have focused recently on creating this concept of empowering people through my writing, through the books that we're working on, to actually improve and create a life of health, wealth, and happiness. So, it sort of has come full circle from early on.
Well, tell us a little bit about your books. Now, you've got 3 actually published right now. Tell us about the first one you had, the one that you did by yourself. Tell us about that one.
The first book, actually, and I have to say thank you to you, because you're sort of the inspiration that finally got that book into print. But it's called Simply Weight Loss. And I had been working on a weight loss book back and forth for probably at least a year before we finally got that one to print. And honestly, the stuff that I had worked on for the entire year before, most of it I discarded and started over when I finally got there. But one of the things that I found in the process of trying to write was I was really trying to make it too complicated, because I was thinking way too technical. And with weight loss, there was so much stuff that I felt like probably needed to be said, but did I want to make it scientific? Did I want to make it more user-friendly? And so finally what I decided, after talking with you and seeing some things that you were doing in your own writing, I decided to just take a very hands-on, practical approach to weight loss. In fact, the book Simply Weight Loss is basically modeled after the program that I taught in my clinical practice. So I was already doing those things day in and day out, working with patients, coaching, trying to motivate them, helping them understand how the physiology worked, how their body actually worked. And one of the things that I have learned to do over the years, and I do it partly because it helps me learn, but I've learned it's a really good educational tool to help people understand these scientific concepts or physiology and how their body works, is I break it down into just simple day-to-day analogies. In fact, in Simply Weight Loss, I use the analogy of the dump truck and the gravel pit, trying to explain how insulin works. At times in my clinic, I use other analogies to help people understand how a blood pressure medicine works and that type of thing. But once someone has sort of a grasp of what's really going on just from a basic standpoint, then the why really begins to make sense to them. And if you can ever capture and get someone thinking about why they need to do it and why it's personal to them, you get much better results.
That's right. And it's funny, but your second book, or your latest book rather, Why Am I So Happy, is you know, it's far different than the Simply Weight Loss book. Talk about Why Am I So Happy and why that's relevant.
You know, Why Am I So Happy is probably my favorite work so far. And not so much just because of the information, but really because why am I so happy, you know, my prescription to health, wealth, success, you know, it basically captures my philosophy. I have spent the last decade really working and focusing on trying to figure out how to make Mike better. You know, I realized that in my clinical practice, if I don't have a real good grasp of who I am, what makes me tick, and you know what's going on inside my head, I have a really difficult time motivating and encouraging other people to really care about what they're doing. So one of my goals is to actually, through personal development skills, through the strategies that we're learning in a whole host, I study a wide array of information, but what I have most prided myself on is the fact that I am beginning to assimilate that information that I'm collecting, because one of my passions in life is to be a student. I love learning, you know, I love going to seminars, I love reading, I love all those kind of things. And so what I'm trying to do is really figure out, how do I take all this information that keeps coming in, that I keep seeking myself, and package it into bite-sized chunks that anybody can pick up and get a grip on without being in this book that's, you know, 5 inches deep and so overwhelming that you just throw it down and say the heck with it. So what I did with Why Am I So Happy was, it basically is an accumulation of about 40 or 45 essays that I have written over the last 6, 8, 10 months from my basic study of personal development. So we talk about, in there, I talk about a lot of topics related to health. I talk about a lot of topics related to creating wealth. I talk about topics related to creating happiness. And I think to really get the essence of being happy, you sort of have to have a nice balance between all of those things, because they're tied together very intricately and they're essential to maintaining happiness in this life.
There are a lot of people out there who have a story out there. We've talked at length about how everybody has a story to tell. And sometimes they may realize it and sometimes they may not, or maybe it's just that they don't know how to go about doing it. What do you say to people out there who want to tell their story but just simply don't know how to do it?
Right. You know, it's pretty basic. And again, I tend to think very simply, because I am convinced, the more I live this life, that each and every person walking the face of this earth has a story that's worth telling. You know, not only do we have unique experiences, we have unique perspectives on how those experiences have molded and modified and changed our way of thinking. And those experiences need to be shared, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people out there that would benefit from hearing my story, your story, the next person's story. And what I have found, especially in compiling and writing Why Am I So Happy, is that what I did with that book was basically formed a daily routine. I've created a work now that I'm working on too. That's the 15 daily habits to help create immediate success and health and wealth and happiness in your life. But what I have done over the last few years is I have created a routine in my life. And it's not time consuming. That's the question I get. How do you have time to do all this? Well, honestly, I carve out about 30 to 40 minutes a day. It's my quiet time in the morning, when I'm thinking, when I'm pondering, when I first get up and start working and thinking. I'm fresh. You know, the things that I've thought about throughout the night are right there on the tip of my tongue, and I sit down and I put that in writing. I basically started journaling a year and a half ago, and as that journaling has progressed, I've added in this concept of writing an essay about whatever it is I happen to be studying that day. And some of these essays are, you know, a page and a half long. Some of them may be 5, 8, 10 pages long. It just really depends on what's going on, what's on my mind, and how well the words just flow. But what I found is, after starting that process is, 6 or 7 months later, there's a book there. And so using the resources of Laurel Rose Publishing, we have put that book together and now have made it available on Amazon and Kindle and all over the place.
It really doesn't seem to matter what story you have to tell. There's always somebody out there who can relate to it.
There's always someone who needs to hear it, is what it boils down to. It's not just that they relate to, but they are desperately wanting to hear it, because there is someone else who is needing to know that experience, because they're going through exactly the same thing that you went through in creating that experience. And so, I think that one of the biggest things that I have learned in my studies over the last few years is that I believe that we are all connected. There's a spiritual and energetic connection there that we are all part of. There's something bigger than us, and just exactly what it is, I don't know yet, but I keep looking for it. But what I do know is that because of that connectiveness, that each and every one of us can benefit from the stories that other people have experienced. And so that's sort of the way I see it. We have a voice. Each of us has a voice. And part of my passion at this point in my life is to try my best to encourage other people and empower individuals to share that voice.
All right, and you've got another great announcement coming up regarding Why Am I So Happy?
Yeah, it's coming out on audiobook. So that project is in production pretty much as we speak now. So hopefully here in the next couple of weeks we'll have an audio version of Why Am I So Happy to go along with the book.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you so much for coming in and just sharing with us today about your passion for writing, why you do it, and your advice to others. We appreciate you coming in.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.